you for everyone who is joining our conference, our webinar, at the same time a memorial. This is a memorial for the 5th memorial for the massacres in Kasese that happened in 2016.
Thank you.
So on November 26th and 27th, 2016, the government of Uganda mercilessly massacred innocent people. Over 150 civilians, including women and children, were killed. And until now, the victims and survivors have not received justice. Now we're doing this webinar where people who were there, people who know what happened there, are going to share with us what happened. Human rights abuses at the hands of UPF and UPDF in Uganda are well documented and widely reported, and have drawn rebuke from US members of Congress and international bodies. In December 2020, US Representatives Eliot Engo, then the chairman of the House Committee of Foreign Affairs, called on the Secretary of State and the Treasury Secretary to use the Global Magnitsky Act to address ongoing human rights abuses in Uganda. In this letter, Chairman Engo specifically named Peter Eluelu as a known perpetrator of human rights abuses who should be sanctioned under the Global Magnitsky Act. On December 17, 2020, the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, ranking member Robert Menendez, further called on the Secretary of State and the Secretary of Treasury to consider imposing targeted sanctions and visa restrictions on parties for perpetrating or abetting human rights abuses in Uganda. Subsequently, on March 4th, 2021, US Senator Cory Booker and James Rich, both members of US Senate Committee on Foreign Relations, echoed this call, asking the Secretaries of State and Treasury to utilize the authority of the Global Magnitsky Human Rights Accountability Act and Executive Order 13818 to designate and sanction individuals who are responsible for human rights abuses in relation to Uganda 2020 presidential elections. Today, many opposition parties members are still rotting in Uganda prisons, including members of parliament, Honorable Sewanyana and Honorable Sejirinya, who is very ill. Today, we are lucky to have two presenters who are going to help us to understand the massacre of Kasese. The first presenter is Honorable Winnie Chiza. The Honorable Winnie Chiza is a prominent Ugandan politician, a sport enthusiast, women's rights expert, peace-building practitioner, and an advocate for justice and good governance. She is a wife and a mother of many children, including twins. Ms. Chiza represented Kasese district in the Uganda Parliament from 2006 to 2021 and served in Parliament as a Deputy Opposition Chief Whip, Chairperson of the Government Assurance Committee, Opposition Chief Whip, Chairperson of the Local Government Accounts Committee, and Leader of the Opposition. Following the reinstatement of multi-party politics in Uganda, Ms. Chiza became the only female opposition legislator in the western part of Uganda for 2 consecutive terms. Ms. Chiza is the first female leader of the opposition since Uganda's independence, an office in which she served honorably. Ms. Chiza is also an outspoken critic of the President Museveni's regime and led the campaign against the removal of the age limit for the presidency. And the second presenter is Mr. Misairi Tembo Kahungu, who is a Uganda journalist with over 13 years experience working in the mainstream media. Mr. Misairi moved to Hoima district to work as a bureau chief for the Uganda Radio Network, and his main task was to comprehensively cover the country's oil region. From September 2017 to April 2021, he worked with the Daily Monitor newspaper in the capital, Kampala, where he covered issues of governance, human rights, and politics. Since 2009, when the Rwenzururu Kingdom was recognized by the government of Uganda, Misairi has been covering issues of the cultural institution. In 2014, he covered the clashes between the security forces who raided different parts of the Rwenzori region, killing over 100 people. Following that was the trial of several kingdom ministers, including the Prime Minister Noah Nzagale and several other people in the Army General Court-Martial. Ms. Sairi covered the proceeding of the court-martial. So we have these very prominent, people in Uganda. And coming back to today's memorial of Kasese massacres, one of the top UPDF generals, Peter Eruelu, when asked in May 2021 about the events in Kasese, Eruelu said the following: "Those were criminals. I didn't kill anyone else. They deserve to die. I was one on the ground and you were not on the ground. That's the problem. Uganda is peaceful because of my actions, and Kasese is peaceful. They are doing very well. Did you hear any problems with Kasese again? Only quiet." These are the words of General Eruelu. So we want to hear from our speakers today. We're going to start from Honorable Chiza. What happened in Kasese, and is Mr. General Eruelu right? Well, everyone that he killed was that person enemy of the country? Honorable Chiza, you click on the unmute button. Yes.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much, moderator, and our viewers. Today, I don't know what I should say. Today is my birthday, and unfortunately, it's the day my people were attacked, killed, and humiliated. My king, with his staff, the entire kingdom, the palace, today we mourn. I should celebrate my birth, or I should mourn my tribe. Indeed, like you have put it, 11th will forever remain mourning days, and subsequent days in the kingdom of Rwenzururu, in Kasese, and in the Rwenzori sub-region because of the atrocities that were committed by my government. Like you have said, I was the member of parliament for the area at that time. We had just had an election. 6 out of the 6 members of parliament had been voted in as members of the Forum for Democratic Change, a party that was eventually the opposition political party. And I'm proud to have been the first female leader of the opposition since independence. At that time, I was the leader who was attacked. Over 150 people were killed, women, men, including children. Over 200 arrested. What shocked, were tied and dressed, battered, beaten, humiliated in broad, a distance of over 450 kilometers for incarceration. It has always remained a dark day for us, the people. We had just celebrated the coronation a month before. We didn't know what awaited us, but we all believe and are convinced that the tribe of the on the removal of Museveni. The areas where the attacks happened are the areas where Museveni was not supported. It's not surprising, therefore, that also November 2021, in November 2020, towards the elections, the areas of Uganda which did not support President Museveni
Honorable Winnie, are you still there? Honorable Winnie, are you still there? As Honorable Winnie tried to solve the internet issue, Mr. Musairi, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, I can jump in as she sorts her internet issues. And in Uganda, anything is possible. You know, they can even cut her off network. You never know. But let me try to to give my own shot, and she'll be able to come in. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone, because people are listening in from different parts of the world with different time zones. Thank you, Leos, for the introduction. I will not go back into introducing who I am, but currently I'm a freelance journalist based in Kampala. Now, I'm trying to give what I know about what happened in 2016 in November. Many things had happened in Kasese and Bundibujo before that. And we may not have time to go into the history of what had been happening, but as you mentioned in the introduction, the incidents of July 5th, 2014, where there was a military raid on different communities in the Rwenzori, and they left over 100 people dead. And 25 people, 11 people were sentenced to 25 years in prison after the court martial said they had found them guilty of perpetrating such killings. But there was no soldier, no police officer that was arrested and put to trial for those killings of July 2014. Now, come to 2016, on Saturday, November 2026, is when I returned from Hoima after I was redeployed back home to come and cover the issues, because I understand the terrain and the language and all that. Because earlier than that, there had been a number of random shootings around to be a right to arrest you, and in the process they shoot someone on the street saying that that person was resisting arrest. The same stories we are hearing currently in the fight against the terrorism. You remember the recent bombings. Now you hear that someone was arrested after giving information, then wanted to run away and was killed by the security operatives. So those things had happened before the November deadly attacks. So on 26th November, I witnessed what was happening in Kasese town when the first attack was launched on the Kingdom administration. I can tell you that as a journalist, I saw blood on the streets. I saw the bodies being taken away, and I saw these firefighting vehicles of the police coming to clear blood off the road, especially where the Kingdom administration offices were. So it was a bad day. It was a bad day for the people of Kasese, because they around 4-5, then there were different attacks across the district, and many people died, including police officers, whom I think made their fate trying to implement unlawful orders, you know, to do extrajudicial killings, and then they also die in the process. So those things happened, and on Sunday 27th, I covered the forms of negotiations that happened in the morning until the bombings in the palace at 1 p.m. So I saw the bodies being transferred from Kasese Central Police Station, being taken to Buhinga Hospital for what they call the post-mortem. As a journalist, I looked at these bodies when they were returned back to the Kasese Municipal Health Center mortuary, where the people would not stand the order that was coming out of the mortuary, as families went through a lot of tension to come and identify their loved ones who had been killed. The bodies had been maimed. People tell a lot of stories of what they went through to try to identify their loved ones. You have to understand your husband's body very well as a widow to be able to identify among the dead bodies that are heaped in the mortuary who your husband is. So there are a lot of stories that you come across as a journalist when you begin speaking to different people. So I've been covering a number of stories concerning these attacks. I did stories in the aftermath. I did stories after many months, even at the first anniversary of the attacks. I remember in the Daily Monitor when we published a story that carried the names of the people so far documented that could have died in the attacks. There are those that were documented as missing, and up now they are still missing. Recently, I met a widow who has gone to all prisons to try to see whether the husband was arrested and detained elsewhere from others, but she has not. Now people have celebrated the last funeral rites of their people, thinking that they are dead, because if your husband or your father is not among the dead and is not among those in prison, you suspect that this person was killed, maybe the people after being overwhelmed with number of bodies, maybe they might have dumped others elsewhere, maybe in the lake or elsewhere in the national park for the vultures to prey on these bodies. So when I look at what has happened in the last 5 years, there is no healing among our people, no healing at all, because there is still a lot of fear. When you go on the streets of Kasese town and you stand in a group of 5 or 6 or 10, you know that already one of those people is deployed to spy on you, to find out what you're talking about. So many people continue to be picked because you've been talking about issues to do with searching for justice of our people who were killed. In the families, they have orders from the office of the resident district commissioner. In Uganda, that's the person who represents the president in a particular district. So these people are put to task not to open up to different people. If you speak to people from the civil society who try to document what is going on in those families that lost their dear ones, you find out that they get difficult to access those families. Even as journalists, you go as undercover to try to go and get the stories to know what has been happening to these families. So there is a fear, poverty, because most of the people killed were the breadwinners in these families, because the majority that were killed were men. Majority of those who were arrested were men, and most of them were picked from their homes. So if I don't like so and so,
Yeah, it looks like Mr. Musari's internet is going down. Honorable Winnie, are you back? Honorable Winnie? Yes, please. If you can take it from where you were.
Yes, I I think I can take it from where I stopped, and possibly I had wanted to say that my heart goes out for all the victims of the state instituted violence. Today, I recall and the state in 2009 during the Kayunga riots. I recall those who died in 2014 in the Rwenzoris. I recall those who died in during the campaigns. I recall with a heavy heart those who were massacred in 2016 in Kasese district and in Ivundivugyo. May the souls of the departed rest in peace. A state that is supposed to take care of its own people, but that it becomes the state that kills them. Like Misai said, many of, in the case of Rwenzori, that is Kasese and Vundivugyo and some scores in Itoroko, were the breadwinners, were family men, were family women, were the future of this of our society, the young people. They were mercilessly killed in cold blood. Problem being, one, that because they subscribed to a tribe. But I will say too, because possibly they did not vote the way the regime wanted, and so that earned them the treatment that they got. It has remained a blow to the community of Rwenzori. It has remained a blow, hard-hitting blow to the families that lost their dear ones, because many of their children have left school. Some of the wives have ceased divorced, leaving the households headed by children. Some of the women whose husbands died at the hands of the state, as the relatives try to scramble for the little that the deceased had. 5 years down the road, there is no accountability for those. 5 years down the road, there is no justice that has been accorded to those who are still in prison, and no help whatsoever has come for the victims of the dead. Today, they don't want anybody to discuss anything to do with the Rwenzururu people who were massacred by the state, because in his that he dealt with the Rwenzururu terrorists. So to him, he was dealing with the terrorists. No one, when he killed our people, he was a brigadier. And as if they were telling him, thank you for the good job, well done, he was promoted to a major general. It's not surprising that recently again, he was, to us, we believe that President Museveni continuously rewards him, for a time will come when accountability will be asked for. We know that a time will come when justice will be accorded to our people, and those will appear before the good officers of the law. As leaders, we tried our best to run to the ICC, because we give any latitude to any member of society to take a sitting president. Is protected by the laws of the land. And we thought that possibly, and we subscribe, would be able to find him culpable. Up to now, we haven't received the justice that we think we should have received. We still believe that justice. It is unfortunate that in the Ugandan case, you are deemed guilty until you prove yourself innocent. While common law believes that you are deemed innocent until you are proven guilty. To us in Uganda, the state to which we should have gone to complain is the one that killed the people. So we are in a situation where you can't even say, I ran to the state for redress, because those are the ones that killed your people. The judges are caged on handling the matter. I remember when they released at least the 132 who were set free, actually not free, they were given bond during the campaigns when the campaigns became tough. And it was apparent that President Museveni was going to lose the election in Kasese district because of the people killed and those in cells. He temporarily gave freedom to 100. But they were under strict instructions not to talk to anyone. They were just dumped in town, given us. You just bring them, dump them in the district. Their case was heard at night. By the time they reached Kasese, it was morning, and they were distributed to their homes like they were property or possibly relief. Their homes are not to talk to anyone unless they go back. They have never been listened to. Their case has never appeared anywhere. The bail they were given was at midnight. You can imagine a matter, and they say you go at midnight. There was nobody released that night. Some killed in 2016 were taken to government mortuaries. They spent around 3 days before they could allow their dear ones to come and to do post-mortem. But no family member has ever received a single post-mortem of their dead ones. All these atrocities. We continue to demand for justice for our people. We continue to demand for accountability on the side of those who committed these atrocities against our people. And we continue to cry out to those who believe in justice, those who believe in a violent, free society, those who believe in the fundamental human rights, to come out and join us in the demand for justice, to come out and join us in the demand for accountability, and to come out leader of the community. You are expected to be held in high esteem. And to him, as the commander-in-chief, we squarely hold it against him, because he's the one who commanded the forces that went to attack our people. But we know someday his day will come. He may hide behind the law now, but the time will come when he's also seeking for justice. Dictators, for a while, they find themselves at the hands of the citizens, who now they begin asking for protection. To us as a people, we shall continue with the fight for democracy, a fight for use of institutions and ensuring that our king goes back to his territory. It's now 5 years since His Majesty King Wesley Mumbere said bye to his kingdom. He has never been back home. He's not allowed to be visited. Even if you wanted to go and visit him anyway, you cannot be allowed. He's guarded by the state. So even when they fail, he's actually under house arrest. Because if you are not given permission by the allowed to see anyone, he can't be allowed to visit anywhere. Those were the bail conditions. Years have been years of incarceration for a king and his kingdom. There has never been any celebration in the to call for a celebration of any kind or any cultural ritual. We shall be stopped by the state. There will be heavy deployment everywhere in the district. And as I talk now, I am receiving reports that indeed they were deployment because they thought people would possibly move around the Kasese district trying to commemorate today. It is so unfair that all these people who talk about human rights, who talk about justice, who talk about good governance, remained silent as a government was killing its own people than we received. It is not yet too late. We can still join hands and we demand for justice for our people who are in jail. We demand for accountability from those who committed these atrocities. And then we continue to say, the victims be compensated, the victims be taken care of, the families that have been left in dire poverty at the hands of the state, generation that has been lost, the children who were going to school at that time, who were denied of the love of their parents, are now home, they can't study. So it's no wonder that the Rwenzori region may never recover from the atrocities of 2016. I did calculations as when I was still a leader of the opposition. For anybody to move from Kasese for the court, for attending court, they would spend not less than 100,000 Uganda shillings. And I counted all on a daily basis, over 200 people from Kasese were attending court. So if you calculated the 100,000 shillings times the 200 people, and then you multiply by the number of days they attended court to no avail, you will find that a lot of money was milked from the Bakonzo people. A lot of money was milked from the Rwenzori sub-region, money that would have otherwise caused the development. So to us, we do believe that because of not voting for President Museveni, we are being subjected to all harsh conditions so that possibly we can break down and vote for him. Misai was trying to say, who wants to, the Obusinga wa Rwenzururu will be approached by the RDC, the DSO, the DPC, and they say, what are you talking about? You are going to be arrested. So there is a lot of intimidation. There continues to be a lot of harassment. The families are still living in fear. The families are still living in agony. They have not been given time to mourn their loved ones. They were not given the chance to even talk about what is hurting them. And therefore, nobody has given them recovery, time to recover from the shock that they got. It's the reason we are united today, and we would like to thank TASSC International for providing us this platform to pour out our bitterness, to cry once again for the loss of our loved ones, to cry for a country that believes in God, a country whose motto is for God and my country, that has put God aside and is just believing in the power of a human being, which we know will not take them anywhere. We want to thank you all for putting this together, the team at TASSC, all the people who have attended, and all those who are out there praying for our people, for the kids, democracy, good governance, the rule of law, fundamental human rights. We want to thank you for attending this webinar and continue to pray that the rule of law, justice, fairness, and equity prevails if our people are to get justice. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Winnie. This was really, really inspiring. And I want Mr. Musari to conclude. Mr. Musari, how can you link what happened in Kasese to what is still happening today, where innocent people are being held in prisons, where people have been killed during the elections and before and even after, without any justice? How can you link the two as we conclude?
Yeah, thank you, Leos. And what I can say about linking these two scenarios is that I think the government, after being there for all this time, the people in government have forgotten what the president himself said in 1996 when he captured power after a guerrilla war, that in Uganda, no one will be killed again, and you don't arrest the people who killed that person. So we've seen many people killed, and many are arrested, held without trial, or when they are put to trial, the court finds out that these people are innocent. So which means that the real killers have not yet been captured. They remain at large. And now in the case of Kasese, everyone knows who the killer is. And the killer spoke and has been speaking every other time that he did what he did. And it was for the purpose of peace. So I think as Ugandans, and then the international community, there are a lot of things to be interrogated if we are to achieve democracy, if people are to live peacefully without any fear. So as I conclude, there are two things. In June 2019, when the king lost his mother, the judge of the International Crimes Division of the High Court, Justice Ivan Swata, granted him freedom to travel to Kasese, to the Rwenzori, to go and mourn the passing of his mother. It was government and its security agencies that defied a court order, contempt of court in the open. People were waiting for the king at the Kasese airstrip, and they waited and waited until sunset. The king couldn't appear back home, and he had been given just a few days to go and mourn and come back. Then in October 2019, court granted the king permission to travel abroad for a specialized eye surgery. A specialized eye surgery, all the letters were there of referral from Mengo Hospital. But up to now, from October 2019, today is November 2021, government has never given him green light to travel abroad. And nothing has happened. We just look on because we don't have the power. Those who have the power have decided not to do anything. We also, as I conclude, as a journalist, I invite the international media to come on the ground. We will help them as fixers to take them to different areas to document some of these sufferings that continue to happen in the homes of the people who were killed. Some of the things to do with our palace, the way you look at it, where the palace has been left there, the remaining house that was there was burnt also in February, and the Minister of Defense came to Parliament and said, yes, we are guarding the place 24/7, but it was burnt. So it means they took responsibility as security who guard the place 24/7, that it still got burnt. So they might be knowing who might have burned it. We've got no report and all that. So there is still a lot going on in the Rwenzori region, and I don't think it's going to stop unless the government releases the king to get back, and then we reorganize the kingdom. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Musari. Thank you so much, Honorable Winnie. Thank you, everyone who joined us. As you know, we commemorate these victims of the Kasese massacres and other victims who died in the hands of the government of Uganda. I continue to commend people on the ground who continue to gather information, to document, to keep evidence of what happened. I know at the international level, there are many people who are following up on this, and it's not going to go unpunished. Again, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. We're going to gather another time. Appreciate your attendance. Have a good night and have a good day. Bye.
Bye.